All right, in this one, we are going to go over a deep dive into one of the most popular areas here in Northeast Florida, which is Ponte Vedra Beach. Now, this is an area that we haven't explored too much in past videos, but in this video, we're gonna break down all the most popular neighborhoods and just really why it really is one of the premier locations here in Northeast Florida. So let's get into that right now. So as we get started on this map video here in the Ponte Vedra Beach area, do not hesitate to give me a call, send me a text, or reach out with an email if you have any questions, anything we go over, or anything else that you may want to know more about as we learn more or go over more of the Ponte Vedra Beach area. Now, for people who aren't familiar with Ponte Vedra Beach, it is a very highly sought after area, very limited area due to the fact that it is pretty much fully developed the way that it is at this time. And a lot of the neighborhoods in Ponte Vedra Beach are going to be classified as more of your gated country club, golf course community neighborhoods throughout the area. And some of them are very well known. You have the Plantations, which is one of the most well-known golf course communities here in Florida, specifically Northeast Florida. But then you also have Sawgrass Players Club, Sawgrass Country Club, and Marsh Landing Country Club. Now, if one of those sounds familiar, such as Sawgrass Players Club, it might be because of the fact that at Sawgrass Players Club, the Players Championship, which is one of the most highly watched golf tournaments throughout the world, is hosted right here in Ponte Vedra Beach. Now, the Players Championship is very well known as being kind of that unofficial fifth major in the PGA, but also it's very well known as being the tournament that has the highest purse, or in essence, the most amount of cash for the winner to win out of any tournament in the PGA. So very well known across the board there, but that does make it a very desirable area. These are also going to be areas, the Ponte Vedra Beach area, that also is going to have a very great school system. And you also do get a lot of oceanfront property here as well. Now, the Ponte Vedra Beach area is going to have a wide diversity of price points. Some homes you can still find in that $400,000 to $500,000 range. On the lower end in a neighborhood like Dolphin Cove, which we will explore further, but you will definitely go to multi-million-dollar homes very quickly here in Ponte Vedra Beach. So starting off, this is going to be our general Ponte Beach area. So the best way to kind of think about it is pretty much almost everything from State Road 202, or what we call Butler Boulevard, south is going to be Ponte Vedra Beach, with the other dividing points for reference being the Atlantic Ocean, as well as Intercoastal Waterway, which separates Ponte Vedra Beach from Ponte Vedra, or what's more well known as Nocatee. But Ponte Vedra Beach does actually go quite further south. We do have Guana River Wildlife Management Area, which we will discuss as well, all the way until you get to Volano Beach down St. Augustine Beach. So I know I'm saying beach a lot, but there are a lot of beaches when you're up against the coastline. But Ponte Vedra Beach is, for the most part, considered north of Guana. And so the majority of Ponte Vedra Beach is going to be in this Palm Valley area. But again, it's a situation where you do have multiple exit points, whether if it's going down Nocatee Parkway to get to US 1 or eventually I-95. You also have the ability to go down State Road 202 to get to I-295 as well. So you do have some different points there to get out of Ponte Vedra Beach or get into, but the main thoroughfare is going to be A1A to get really anywhere within Ponte Vedra Beach, or Solano/Roscoe further inland as well. Further towards the ocean, you do have Ponte Vedra Boulevard as well. So those are some additional roads, but the main road you're going to take to travel throughout Ponte Vedra Beach is going to be A1A. Now, why is this all important? Well, it's important to know because if you are thinking about moving to the area, it is a situation where there's pros and cons to being in Ponte Vedra Beach. You are really close to the Atlantic Ocean. So again, being able to get to the beach very easily, to live that more coastal lifestyle, it's something you do see quite often here. But also being closer to the Atlantic Ocean, there is always going to be a watchful eye you have to have for any storms that may come during the summertime, or more so during hurricane season. And again, with there only being a couple exit points or entry points to get into Ponte Vedra Beach, it does sometimes limit you and create more of a traffic jam than you may see in other parts of Northeast Florida, specifically here in Jacksonville. But again, as we look at some of these neighborhoods, starting off with Marsh Landing Country Club, Marsh Landing Country Club is going to be more defined with, more developed trees. You're going to have a variety of homes, but most of them are going to be probably 1980s to early 2000s. And this specific course is very well regarded, does have a lot of appeal for people. And the fees to have a membership here really aren't too bad when you compare to some of the other communities that we're going to discuss further on. So again, you're going to have your tennis courts, you're going to have pickleball courts, you're going to have the clubhouse, obviously the golf course. This is a guard gated community. And again, a lot of these homes are going to be larger homes, with some of them even being on the Intracoastal Waterway. And some of those are also going to be near construction. So again, when it comes to why Marsh Landing, a lot of it is for that history of the community, the way it's developed, and it also puts you very close to Butler Boulevard or State Road 202, making travel in and out of Ponte Vedra Beach very much an easier process than maybe some of the other communities that we're going to discuss further. But overall, really great views, really great course. Overall, a lot of these courses are going to be more private courses. So again, unless you know someone, it can sometimes be a bit of a struggle to actually play on them, but there are sometimes chances to be able to do that. Then we go to Sawgrass Country Club. Now, just to reference on the map, we have Marsh Landing is going to be up here to the north. So again, when we are defining these areas, we want to look at multiple factors here. So let me actually go ahead and exit that real quick. Do need to zoom out. Let me see. So Marsh Landing up here to the north. This is going to be the first area we're discussing. Further to the south, you will notice here that we do have Sawgrass Country Club, which is going to be more towards the ocean. Sawgrass Players Club, which is going to be more, inshore. And then all the way to the south is where we're going to have the Players Club, the Plantation. So Plantation is going to be to the south with Sawgrass in the middle, whether if it's the Country Club or the Players Club, and then to the north is Marsh Landing. So just to kind of put some perspective on it. But overall, Marsh Landing is a great course. As we move on to Sawgrass Country Club, which is going to be more of the course closer to the ocean. This course here, as you'll see, in general at Sawgrass Country Club, a lot of the homes in Sawgrass Country Club, you kind of get a mixed range. So you're going to have condos, you're going to have townhouses, you're going to have single family homes. So you do kind of get an interesting mix there. You are going to be right next to the ocean, so it's very convenient to hop on a golf cart to go to the ocean. And so overall, it's just a great pocket over there. And a lot of people do like the Country Club golf course more than the Players Club golf course. So that is one thing that we normally see is when people are picking which neighborhood to live in, especially if they're very much golf focused, that is a big piece of it, is figuring out, okay, which golf course are we most attracted to? And that's a lot of times the community they focus on. So again, if you have any questions while we're going through this, don't hesitate to reach out to me, as I can definitely go into more personal, breakdown, more detail than what we're seeing here on this video. But overall, we then will be moving more inshore to Sawgrass Players Club. And as you can see here, this is the clubhouse, very well known, very well seen due to the Players Championship here every year. And again, it is a beautiful course. It has some of the most amazing views, in my opinion. And specifically, hole 17 with the island green is a top 10, I think, hole to play for anybody in the world, just due to the way it's been designed. But obviously you can tell a lot of money has gone into the Sawgrass Players Club when it comes to their clubhouse. And again, in Sawgrass Players Club section, you're going to have multiple smaller communities throughout. And along with those smaller communities are going to be predominantly single family homes. There are some condos here and there. Not really anything for townhouses, but although there might be a couple here and there. But what's really cool with the Sawgrass Players Club side is not only do you have that course, you also do have the yards, which is another course within Sawgrass Players Club, and you have the Dyes Valley course as well. So you have 3 courses within Sawgrass Players Club. Now, for the most part, to play each one of them, they do have different restrictions. I will say the yards is probably the easiest to play or to get access to, but it is cool to have some different options there when we're talking about, Sawgrass. Then we go to the Plantations. Now the Plantations, as you can see here, this is actually, took one too far. The Plantations is a very exclusive neighborhood. The homes in here are really gonna start really around 800 to $1 million and go up from there. As you can see, this is actually the entrance to the end of the community. And just like the others, this is a guard gated community. As being someone who has been in this community multiple times and has sold homes in here, I can tell you that it definitely has a different feel. It has a little bit more of a newer, modern feel. A little less trees than you'll see in Marsh Landing or even Players Country Club, or sorry, Sawgrass Country Club or Sawgrass Players Club. But overall, it has a beautiful look to it. The architecture of the homes in here are amazing, and overall, what's really cool with this one, it's kind of twofold. If you're looking for a very private community, this is definitely one to consider because it requires the highest buy-in out of all the ones we've discussed so far. And that buy-in does give you additional perks, such as the fact that only homeowners can play this course. There are a couple of exceptions, but for the most part, you're only ever going to see other homeowners on this course. So it keeps it in tip-top shape. And in addition, you also do get access to the beach club, which the beach club is going to be next to Michler's Beach, which we will also look at in a second. But the beach club here, as you can see here, it's a very massive area. You actually have a restaurant out here to go with the pool. You do get private access to the beach as well from the beach club, as well as private parking. So again, it really does give you quite a bit that you don't see with 99% of other communities here in Northeast Florida. So this beach club, again, just has a lot to like. Now, again, not all these pictures will be of the beach club. They do kind of overlap. There is your Atlantic Ocean there. But overall, it is one of those things that if you're looking for a premier high-end neighborhood to move to, this is one of the ones to really consider here in not just Northeast Florida, but in Florida as a whole. Now, if you are looking to visit and you're not sure where to stay, for a short-term stay, but you do want to experience living in Ponte Vedra Beach, you do have multiple options to choose from. We do have Ponte Vedra Inn and Club here. The Ponte Vedra Inn and Club is very well known, just as far as a destination, whether if you're staying for a week or a month. And again, they have more of a hotel style feel to it, but they also do have more resident style feel with some of their other accommodations that they have here. So what's really cool too is you are right up against the ocean, and the customer service, or the service in general you get here, is one of a kind. And I have had multiple people who have moved here to Jacksonville, moved here to Northeast Florida, who stayed here, and before they even decided they were going to move to Jacksonville, and this is really what kind of did it for them. So the Ponte Vedra Inn Club is very well known. You do also have the ability with any of the neighborhoods you live in to gain a membership to Ponte Vedra Inn Club as well. So definitely gives you a lot to look into, when it comes to living here or really just visiting the area. Then we do have the Lodge Inn Club, which is to the south. Similar situation as the Inn and Club, another place where you can stay. And again, to cap it all off for another accommodation, right outside Sawgrass Players Club, you do have Sawgrass Marriott, golf resort and spa. Again, just a beautiful location there as well. And again, I've had people stay there when visiting the area to get a better feel of the area. Even if they weren't picking Ponte Vedra Beach, they still chose to stay here because of just the customer service you get here and the attention to detail you get with your stay. From there, we do also have a Publix located here in Ponte Vedra Beach. Now this Publix is going to be further to the south, but you also do have a short drive to get to other Publixes in Jacksonville Beach, as well as you do have other major grocery stores and big box stores like Home Depot, and stuff like that, not too far away as well. So you do have some options with that. Then we get to restaurants. So restaurants here, as we span the length of Ponte Vedra Beach, we do have restaurants to the north, to the south, in the middle. You do have a lot of options for restaurants. A couple that I would highly suggest to look into when visiting are restaurants like Ruth Chris, well known for their steaks. Definitely a great location there. We do also have Valley Smoke, which is on the Intracoastal. Has some amazing views, amazing drinks, amazing food. One of the better barbecue places, especially for high-end upscale barbecue here in Northeast Florida and Ponte Vedra Beach. In addition, we have Pussers, which is going to be next to Ruth Chris. Again, just more down-to-earth setting there. We have Boathouse, which is going to be more for your fish and whatnot. So fish, seafood in general. Very, newer compared to some of these other ones, but, food there is also highly suggested to check out. You do also have V Pizza. So V Pizza also is more of a local place that's expanded tremendously. And V Pizza, again, when it comes to looking for a pizza place, is definitely the place to go to. So there's just a couple different places to check out when visiting the area. And then lastly, as we just talk about some of these major areas, we also have, out towards the beach, beach access. We have Mickler's Beach down to the south, and Guana. Now, Guana is, there is a small cost to park next to the beach and then be able to walk onto the beach and spend time on the beach. But these areas, again, are very heavily trafficked, but what's really cool about them is, you don't have a ton of homes around, if any. So a lot of this beach feels very much private, feels very much more like you're on an island, where, technology isn't necessarily there as you'll see like in, Jax or Neptune, Atlantic Beach with all the homes that you see. So again, it's a very peaceful setting across the board in these areas of Mickler's Beach or Mickler's Beach, depending on how you call it, in Guana Reserve. In addition, Guana Reserve is a very big park, so you do have the ability of checking out different landmarks there and just explore the area as well as you're living there. So that's a little bit about, Ponte Vedra Beach in general. Now, as far as non-gated, golf course communities, I know we've really heavily, talked about that so far, but you do have others as well that, are not going to be in that setting. Just to check out a few of them, we'll start off with Dolphin Cove. Dolphin Cove is actually kind of interesting because it doesn't really fit the dynamic you normally expect to see in Ponte Vedra Beach compared to what we've already seen. But Dolphin Cove is going to be more 1960s, 1970s, brick houses, block houses, more of your starter home. And again, like this is a great kind of starting point for people if they, want to be in Ponte Vedra Beach, but they don't want to pay those higher Ponte Vedra Beach prices. This is a neighborhood that definitely gives you that ability to kind of get your foot in the door, so to speak, with Ponte Vedra Beach. So again, as you can see, a lot of brick houses, block houses. A lot of these homes have been recently updated on the inside or the outside. So it definitely is a interesting reprieve, a little bit more of your old, not old, but older kind of style, like sleepy beach town feel with these homes that you don't necessarily see with the more extravagant homes in these other communities. So I personally do like the feel of Dolphin Cove because it is such a difference from the rest of the neighborhoods we're going to see here. It definitely gives you another option if you're wanting to be in this area, but you don't necessarily want to have those larger homes if you're okay with something that's a little bit more on the smaller side. From there, we also will check out down here towards the bottom, Odom's Mill area. And so the neighborhoods down here, these are all very nice neighborhoods as well, just not gated. These are kind of your middle, mid-range to where it's not like Dolphin Cove where it's 1960s, 1970s brick and block houses, but you're also not in those guard-gated country club, golf course communities. So this is a nice little middle ground here where you do get some beautiful homes, and you still get some amenities, just not, the crazy amenities like you get in some of these other high-fee communities. And again, gives people another option for living in Ponte Vedra Beach without having to be in the smaller brick and block houses, but also not having to be in those maybe as extravagant golf course country club communities. So as you can see here, I mean, just really nice lot lines, really nice architecture. A lot of these are going to be more of your stucco homes, 1990s, early to mid 2000s. So realistically, definitely gives you some different options to play around with if you're looking to move here to Ponte Vedra Beach. We also have down here some new construction. That's another thing too that people don't always think about, but when it comes to living here in Ponte Vedra Beach, there still is sometimes some new construction you can find. So as we come around here, you do have different neighborhoods like here in Possum Trot that were recently built. In this case, this one was built by Pulte Homes, but does give you kind of that new construction if that's something that you're more wanting to have. Now, what's really cool with this community, Possum Trot, is that a lot of these homes, the first floor, or if it's only one-story house, then the whole house is actually concrete block. So that's not something we see always across the board, despite being close to the ocean. Sometimes these homes will be fully wood frame, but in this case, the builder Pulte, who built these, did decide to go with more of a concrete block first floor with a wood frame second floor. So at least you do get some protection as far as if you want concrete block with a neighborhood like this. So that's the cool thing about Ponte Vedra Beach is, again, if you want an older home, we have it. If you want a newer home, we have it. If you want a guard gated golf course community with high fees because you want to be in an exclusive area, we have that. If you want a neighborhood with no fees, again, Dolphin Code gives you that as well. So you definitely do have some really great options there across the board when it comes to living here, or moving, so to speak, here to Ponte Vedra Beach. So overall, that kind of gives a good breakdown, kind of gives you a good starting point. But again, if you want to know more of what it's like to live here in Ponte Vedra Beach, reach out to me. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me. My goal is to help give you as much value, as much information as possible when deciding on, is this the place to move to for us as we're looking to either move somewhere else throughout Florida or move to Florida in general. Because again, you have a lot of options, and in my opinion, Ponte Vedra Beach is probably one that should be very high up there due to the different communities that you have at your disposal. But again, if you want to know more, you just got to reach out to me. So until next time, I'll see you guys again on our next video.